In this video, I'm going to go over the most basics of moving an object around, or what they call transforms. Transforms just means you're going to transform an object. You're going to do something to it. You're going to move, rotate, or scale it. So basically what we're going to do is the first thing you need to do just to see how this operation works is to create an object. So basically a cube probably is the most basic object to use. And we're going to zoom in, so we're going to use our zoom controls. So that's Alt or Option key on your keyboards, depending on if you're on a PC or a Mac. And then that's going to be one of your mouse buttons. So your right mouse button controls zoom. Okay, so now we have our object zoomed in, it's selected. So now if I want to do something to an object, I'm going to go over here to the side. This is our toolbar. These 5 icons here are what's called your toolbar or your tools. So the top one is a selection. This is just to select something. This doesn't do anything. It would just allow me to select an object. So I can either window select or I can pick select it. Okay. These two, these are more for selecting components. We're not going to get into these right away, but these are the ones, these tools, these 3 tools are the ones you're going to want to be using right now. So it's the move tool, rotate tool, and scale tool. Okay, so the one we use the most is the move tool. So you have to have the object selected, and once it's selected, there we go. Now we have this little axis in here. This is called our tool widget. Just let you know what's going on with your tool and what orientation it's going. Now if you see there's these little axes, these correspond to the Maya axes. If I zoom out a little bit onto our grid. So in the first video, we went over what this is, the grid plane, our workspace. It's basically a Cartesian plane. So it is an axis. So this red axis here, this is our x-axis. This is our y-axis. Mine uses a y-up system, and this is our z-axis. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back in. Zoom in on the object. Okay, so now I'm going to pick it again. So if you want to just move your object, let me zoom out a little bit, you can just pick it on the middle, and then you can just move it wherever you want. Okay, this is moving all around the space. Move it up. You'll see it's kind of floating. Okay. So maybe I want a little more control on moving it. So I'm going to hit Control Z, which is going to undo the command. So Control Z. Okay, so now it's back at its center. Okay. So in Maya, you're generally going to want to have a little bit more control. So you're probably going to want to move it by an axis. So I'm going to move this in this direction here. I'm just moving along its Z-axis right now. It's called translating Z. Now I'm moving in negative Z direction. And we haven't gone over this yet. We will get to it. But over here, this is your channel box. This gives you some information about what's going on with the model. So you'll see when I'm moving it, it tells me I'm moving it in a positive X direction. And if I move it over, it's moving it in a negative X direction. Okay. So again, I'm going to hit Control Z and get it back to center. So now also too, if I want to move it in this direction, that's our Z direction. If you notice our Z is changing there. Okay. So and if I want to reset all of it, I can actually type in 0 here and 0 there, and you see the object moves. Okay. So now I want to do something else to it. I want to rotate the object. So now what happens is we have a tool widget again, but it's a little different. Now it's circular. It has the same color coding. So if you rotate around, here's what happens. Okay, so you just pick on those. If you want to be locked to an axis, or if you just want to go freeform, you can just rotate around like that. Okay. So I'm going to reset all of these. There's another thing too I can do. If I want to reset a whole bunch of things in the channel box, I can do Shift, Select, and select all the numbers that changed, and then I can type in a number and it'll go to all of them. So now it's back to 0. Okay, so that's our 0 position. And if you want to rotate this with precision, you can also type numbers in there, which we'll get to in later lessons. Now, the last major transform tool we're going to go over today's lesson is we're going to use the scale tool. Now, if you just want to scale an object in all directions, you pick on the center box. Okay, that scales everywhere. And if you notice here on the side, in the channel box, you can see that the numbers are changing. Okay, I'll scale it down. But you might want to do, this is called global scaling or global object scaling. So you're scaling it in all directions. But you may want to scale something in a particular direction. So this would be called non-proportional scaling. So you can scale in any direction you want. Maybe you want to make something tall, make something wide or deep. There you go. And then again, so if I want to pick it and I want to clear all these, I can just type on these. You can do this individually too. You can just type in 0, 0. Oh, no, actually I don't want 0, I want 1, sorry. Then there you go. If you type in 0, it goes to infinity. It goes to nowhere. There you go. So there you go. So now you see what happens when you type in something. So at the end of this, you might want to go back to your select commands. That way something is selected, but you can't move it. You're not doing anything to it. Okay. So those are the basics of how you transform objects. So basically you move, rotate, and scale. Okay. So we'll get more deep into this later in a later lesson.